Welcome to episode 4 of Drew's Baseball Crew here on this Wednesday morning, June 22nd, 2022, our Wednesday slate, of course. And it's a good one, of course. We have a lot of great pitchers on the bump today, and I am really looking forward to it. So, look, let's get right into it here. We're going to do it how we go about it on this Baseball Crew for Wednesdays. So, starting with pitching matchups, of course, we got to highlight those. Keegan Thompson right now is the Cubs starting pitcher, and right now the Pirates starter is still not determined. So we do not have that information yet here on Wednesday, but I can tell you the next matchup here, those guys, I mean, you're not looking to start them in any sort of daily fantasy sense, but Carlos Rodon and Charlie Morton, both of those pitchers dueling against each other is the story. Look, you would be just fine with going with either. I personally might lean towards Charlie Morton there. I'm looking at him. Look, he had a rough start to the year, and he's bounced back in his last start, and I think it's only up from here for Morton. So, I mean, that's who I'd be looking at. And if you want to play like matchups, right, looking at who has done better for their career against their opponent, it would go to Carlos Rodon. But it's a smaller sample size. Look, Charlie Morton, 78 plate appearances. I know some of these guys aren't the same considering how long Morton's been around for, but I would be going Charlie Morton, but Carlos Rodon's also a solid option. If you can somehow afford to get both of them, go ahead, do it. But that'd be sure something if you were able to. Patrick Corbin is pitching today, and yeah, sadly, when you hear Patrick Corbin's name, it is a stack option. Usually against him is what you're looking to do, and that might be the case today for some players. Maybe not a full stack. Tyler Wells, who has been impressive. How if it's a 2-start, like for example your classic, 2-start lineup for pitchers. I'm looking at like Charlie Morton and Tyler Wells might be my combo. This Nationals offense isn't the greatest. I know they have Juan Soto, but like from there, you got guys like Josh Bell. Not really some other options there, but I'd be looking at that as my kind of 2-start thing. Pablo Lopez is certainly, he's struggled as of late. He might be a guy I'm not looking at today, sadly, but considering how well he started the year for the Miami Marlins, going through Ross Stripling and Lucas Giolito, both those pitchers have struggled. I'm not interested in that matchup there. Zach Wheeler and John Gray. Look, Zach Wheeler has been impressive this year as well. So Wheeler, I'll add him to the list of guys to utilize, and his numbers against the Texas Rangers roster. Expected batting average of 302. So I mean that's a little alarming there. But from there, like the strikeouts are good. It's good there, and maybe, Wheeler's underlying numbers against the Rangers, it's kind of led by Cole Calhoun, who has had a lot of success against them. Corey Seager as well. We'll talk about those in the player matchups. But next one here, Jordan Montgomery and Shane Baz. I really like Baz in this game. I know him coming back from injury and the concerns there, but Shane Baz is a stud, and I like him in this game, and if he's cheap, it depends on where you're playing, right? But if you can get him on some sort of discount there on daily fantasy, go ahead, do so. A few more here: Madison Bumgarner, Mike Clevinger, George Kirby, Paul Blackburn, Carlos Carrasco, Luis Garcia, Tyler Anderson, Luis Castillo, Tariq Skubal, Michael Wacha, Daniel Lynch, and Shohei Ohtani. So out of those, Ohtani, right, going up against the Royals, had a big game last night. Certainly be looking at him. Luis Castillo as well for what he's done, but it's against the Dodgers is a concern. Carlos Carrasco has a pretty good matchup there. And Mike Clevinger is concerning. He's still on a pitch limit, so I would not be looking at Mike Clevinger in any sort of aspect because he might be capped at 75 pitches, might be capped at 100, or 100's a pretty big number there, but my point, he might be on a pitch limit. So back to player matchups, right? The one I mentioned was like Corey Seager is probably, is an interesting one there, considering that he's against Zach Wheeler. So I bring that one up because he's had a lot of success against him. I know it's only 8 at-bats, 8 plate appearances, and it's numbers are there, though. 434 expected batting average, 578 expected slug. The exit velo is an average exit against him, 96.1. So the numbers, look, they are certainly there. Nathaniel Lowe, guy who's been hot as well. You'll be looking at those two guys there for the Rangers if you want to group them together. Also, let me tell you why, the Brewers stack, it's Adam Wainwright, Eric Lauer. I don't think I read that game, but look, Adam Wainwright, the Brewers, you might remember, Brewers might have not had a lot of success against him back then, but look, not the same guy, and the Brewers have some guys who can attack Adam Wainwright, and that is why I'm looking, no bias here, I'm looking at Brewers stack today. I'm looking at Omar Narvaez. He gets to start, if you're playing in a league or in any sort of thing where you need a catcher spot, Omar Narvaez is your guy, in my opinion. He has a career 8 for 20 off of him with a 400 average, and slug is 700. Look, he had a home run against him already this year. Certainly Omar Narvaez could be your guy there. Andrew McCutchen he's thinking about it, he's played him a lot, and he has great numbers against him. 299 average, 481 slug, an OPS over 800. Look, McCutchen, Narvaez, solid 2-man stack. And then I'd add, if you want to add 3-man there, Luis Urias, 5 for 11 for his career against him. Only 2 strikeouts, 2 home runs. Luis Urias has dominated him for his career, and that's how I'd roll it there. If you want to get some value guys for the Brewer crew, Jace Peterson is usually a solid value, man. You'll get good stuff out of him. Other guys, let's keep it moving here. Brandon Drury is a career 5 for 14 off of Tyler Anderson for the Dodgers. That gives him a 357 average there. He's like a guy you could plug in there. And remember I mentioned Patrick Corbin? Yeah, we're talking about Patrick Corbin. Austin Hayes, 3 for 6 against him for his career. Anthony Santander and Trey Mancini both batting 375 off him so far in their careers. Look, those guys, another catcher option if Robinson Chirinos is catching today for the Orioles and not Adley Rutschman, I would roll that. And, those are some of my favorites. So I would even, argue, so you would go like this. This is a potential lineup, whatever. You'd go 3, you would take the 3 Brewers I mentioned, the 3 Orioles I mentioned, and then you could throw in a couple other guys, right? So you might be asking, who are those couple other guys? I'm looking at Charlie Blackmon for the Colorado Rockies. I know Pablo Lopez, he's a phenomenal pitcher, but just hasn't been the same so far. Other guys I might be mentioning, Jose Altuve. I know not many people have been talking about him, but he's still Jose Altuve, and his career 379 average off of Carrasco, and I'd be looking at that. What else? I wish we had Manny Machado today, but we do not, unfortunately. And looking through a couple other names here. Bryce Harper, right? If we want to throw in the big names if you want to pay up for a guy. Brian Reynolds, who has had a great month of June, is against, like we mentioned, Keegan Thompson. That might be a guy there. Marcus Semien has done well for his career against Zach Wheeler as well, with a career 600 average. So, some of my favorites there. And looking now, player prop lines, right? So, like fantasy score, pitching fantasy score, those kind of line we're going to be looking at for wherever you play. I'd be looking still. I like to stick with the classic fantasy score, right? And that's where guys like Omar Narvaez, if he's offered a fantasy score line, I think you take it. Total bases, because some places will offer total bases for him 0.5. Him and Jace Peterson, I would take those in a heartbeat today. I think those are some great value picks there. Also, And then, like I mentioned, fantasy score for guys like Santander, Mancini, Hayes. Who else? I mean, there's other guys. Robinson Chirinos, like I said, for the Orioles, if he gets this start. I didn't mention Rowdy Tellez, who's a career 300 average hitter against Wainwright. But if you're getting him, maybe the total base 1.5 line, but that might be one I'm not too sure about. Eric Lauer today, looking at his matchup too, like we mentioned with the Cardinals, he's actually fared well against the Cardinal hitters, but he hasn't been the same Eric Lauer that we've seen. So that's where the concerns are for me, right? I mean, his last 5 starts have not been the Eric Lauer we saw in the first 5. That's just sadly how it's been for him, but certainly believe he can turn it around. Charlie Morton fantasy score, though, for pitchers. Now, that's one I would over. Also, I'd be looking... I think I might, maybe not under Zach Wheeler fantasy score, but, if it... Got to look at where it is. And, if it's low enough, I would take the over, right? If it's low overvalued, I think I'd take the under with that. But Tyler Wells, like we mentioned for the Orioles, his fantasy score, I would over that. Shane Baz against the Yankees, that one might be the boldest one I have. I'll take his fantasy score over. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of going to wrap it up here for the baseball crew. Try to keep it brief as, look, we have slate. There's day games here. There's 110 games. So hopefully this helped you guys out, and good luck. So Drew Skyberg signing off. So thank you all for listening to yet another episode of Drew's Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.